All right, you guys ready to kick things off?
Yeah.
It's Tuesday night, 5 p.m. local time here in Bali. Time to kick off the filter number 98. Welcome, guys. We're going to do this one more time, and we got a good show lined up. Today's episode is called Thinking About Identity. And we've been talking a lot about identity lately. We've recently had the folks from Consensus in town, and they've got their Uport project. We talked to the Airbits folks who are trying to do innovative things around key management and the identities that go with those keys. And I recently came across an essay by Vinay Gupta. Hey, Andrea.
Hey.
Andrea.
Correct.
Make sure you sit next to this or close to this microphone, Andrea. We got.
Is it on here?
No, well, we could turn it around. Make sure that that's pointing in your direction. All right. So I came across this incredible essay. It's I don't know, is it 14,000 words or something like that? Takes an hour to read it, but it's a comprehensive treatment of identity, going all the way from the philosophical underpinnings of identity to the blockchain and the technology that we've now got at our disposal to manage identity in a world that's completely new for human beings. Really, in the grand scheme of things, we've only existed in this hyper-connected world where we can touch anybody on planet Earth for a few years now, and there are ramifications to that. I'm going to try and lead us in a discussion about that. And it's possible that I might have the author on the line. Vinay might join us.
Really?
We'll see if he pops on. But I did get a little Twitter from him, so we'll see if he can make it. But let's kick things off, guys. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. There we go. See if we can show the folks at home what we are seeing up on the screen there. Hopefully that's working. All right. This is the filter number 98, coming to you live from Bali at Hubud, hubud.org. These guys have been kind enough to give us an air-conditioned space in the sweaty climes of Bali. Sometimes we need to cool off, and Hubud is a nice, cool place to work. And if you find yourself in Bali, for those of you who aren't in the room right now, if you find yourself in Bali, we hope you'll join us in person. We do this every Tuesday, 5 p.m. local time here in Bali at Hubud. You can find Hubud at hubud.org. Track us down next time you're in Southeast Asia. After tonight's show, we are going to retire to Tidbit Food Factory, Ubud's latest restaurant that accepts Bitcoin. Yes, they're just all coming out of the woodwork, folks. There's lots of people jumping on the bandwagon, helping us create a Bitcoin economy in Bali. And these guys are quite new. They're quite inexperienced. We're going to swoop in there and overtake their restaurant with Bitcoin goodness tonight and see if they can handle a few Bitcoin transactions. So that's the Tidbit Food Factory. It's a 7-minute walk from Hubud. So those of you who aren't on scooters can trot over there, or you can hop on the back of somebody's scooter and we can caravan over there. But it's right down there, kind of near the Onion, if you know where that is. All right. So when we are not together, this is how the meeting works. For people that are new in the room, I see a few new faces. We have this online space. It's called Facebook. Have you ever heard of it? We have a Facebook group called Bitcoins in Bali. And what we do is we kind of basically crowdsource our news that we want to talk about. So if you join the group and you see something interesting going on and you'd like to talk about it, you can post it to the group. And then we talk about it online. And if your topic gets a lot of heated debate, then of course we'll talk about it when we get together in person on a Tuesday. So that's how things work around here. We also have a Twitter hashtag Bitcoins in Bali. That's where things are happening on Twitter. And of course, we've got our YouTube page. Now, I'm hoping that some people will subscribe to the YouTube page because we've got some stuff coming up that might not be on a Tuesday night. I've been talking to our old buddy, Willie Woo, about doing a call maybe later this week. And if you don't subscribe to the YouTube channel, then you might miss it. we do these things live, right? They're like, we pop up. We've got the chat window open. If you want to interact with us, you've got to get on the YouTube channel. We've also got our bitcoinsinbali.org website, and we've cleaned it up a little bit. You'll be happy to know, Stephen, that we've got now a classes tab where we've got Bitcoin 101, which is for the English-speaking folks, but we've got Pengantar Bitcoin, which just occurred last week. That's the Indonesian language version of our Bitcoin class.
Yes.
And I know that we've talked about some other classes maybe to put on this calendar so we can keep them all under this classes tab. We can keep them all under this classes tab. Oh, I'm getting Vinay, is that you? Hello, Vinay. All right, I'm gonna.
Yes, it is.
Great to have you. Excellent.
Great to have you.
I'm getting a little bit of.
I'm just making a cup of tea. Give me a shout when you want me on.
All right, we'll do.
Okay.
Can you guys hear Vinay?
No,
You can't. Okay, interesting.
We can run it through the speakers.
Well, I'm hoping that the speakers are going to work. You guys aren't hearing them, huh?
I can hear it through.
Are you?
Okay.
Can you hear me now, guys?
I can hear you, but the room is having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
And I'm getting some feedback on my end from you. So
Oh yeah, I'll fix it. I'll fix the feedback. I'll grab headphones.
All right, cool. Thanks. All right, where were we? So you guys didn't hear Vinay talking just now. Okay. All right, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But you did hear it, right? You weren't? Okay. All right. You guys might get half of the conversation. Let's see how this goes. All right. The joys of technology. All right, so we're building a Bitcoin economy here in Ubud, and on this Bitcoins in Bali site, we've got the Get Involved tab. So if you're interested in helping us sign up merchants, work on the website, we've got a Bitcoin event that we've got in the works that might happen next March. There's all kinds of things happening, and we really have a nice community, nice people doing work that we all think will make the planet a better place. So you can find out what we're doing on this Get Involved tab, and yeah, check that out. And if you are so inclined, get in touch with us, and we can put you to work. We can set you up so that you can help make this thing happen. This thing that we've got going in Bali. All right. Speaking of the Bitcoin economy, Willie Wu, our old friend from New Zealand, who's now I think in Sri Lanka. He's the globetrotter, Willie. And in his spare time and with Sri Lankan internet, he put together this real-time view of the Bitcoin economy in Ubud. So if you were to go spend some Bitcoin in Ubud, it will real-time update on this graph. And this is a very cool thing because basically we're trying to get people to participate in this economy. And with this graph, you can see your own contribution to the Bitcoin economy in real time. So if you go to Seeds of Life, if you go to Kismet, if you show up at one of these places that accept Bitcoin as payment, you can see your contribution right here in the graph. You can see we've had 3 transactions today in restaurants around Ubud, and let's see, 13 transactions on the ATM. But check that out at google.com/chart/Bali. All right, we are coming to you live from Indonesia. We're sitting in Indonesia. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin price in Indonesian currency. Right now we see on bitcoin.co.id, I can't read that, can you guys? 8.4 million rupiah for 1 Bitcoin. You know, I was talking with an Indonesian man, a Balinese guy, and I set him up with a Bitcoin wallet, and we were talking, and then he just in passing asked how much is 1 Bitcoin worth, and I told him 8 million rupiah, and he just about fell over. He said, one Bitcoin is 8 million rupiah? And we had to have a little discussion about units to the right of the decimal place, which is always fun to have. But anyway, of course, people are more used to thinking about Bitcoin in terms of the US dollar price. We're at $657 that went up this week. Did you guys see this? Here's the Bitcoin time machine, and we have this little jump in price. I think this was a 4% jump. Anyone care to speculate why we saw a little jump in the Bitcoin price?
Short squeeze.
Short squeeze.
Chinese news.
Chinese news. Chinese. The Chinese miners had some sort of a thing going on, which I think maybe put some people's minds at ease, or maybe they got some Chinese press. I think most of this volume and most of this price pressure is coming out of China, and China also recently devalued their currency, so maybe more Chinese people are looking for ways to quote diversify. Who knows? There's a Bloomberg story about Bitcoin jumping based on the yuan weakness. I'll put that in the show notes. Let's skip the volatility talk. Come on. Let's talk a little bit about local news. We're also lucky enough to have Yasmin in the room, who is starting this. You've got this app already together, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Absolutely. So the app is actually, we just launched in Bali because we think it's the right place.
Good choice.
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking into rolling it out to other places as well. But what it is, it's digital barter, and the MVP is basically straight up barter, where you can kind of connect and help. Trade skills and not bills, like you see.
Yeah, trade skills and not bills. That's good.
Yeah,
like
it makes sense. As simple as that. The bigger vision is a little bit more complex, which we're basing on a complementary currency, which is based on, you heard about Bank? Yeah, so if you haven't heard it was established after the Great Depression, and it's a dual currency where you use domestic currency and barter points. So that's how we're looking to the bigger vision, and then using a blockchain technology for that. So it's quite complex things, but it's also very exciting. There's a lot of things obviously happening with alternative currencies.
Are you going to bring about this world from Star Trek where we no longer need money?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that's really the like rethinking money kind of thing. So the MVP is just launched now.
So you've got the minimum viable product.
Yes.
You got the app.
Yeah, so kind of onboarding people as well about barter race and kind of how it works, and then at the same time developing the peer-to-peer, because like barter has been around, but there's no really peer-to-peer platform to do it. So yeah, and Bali it's an incredible place where like people have the right mindset. Obviously, yeah, you know that already.
Well, there's lots of smart people here.
Yeah.
There's lots of thoughtful people here.
Yeah, people are very forward thinking.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you'll join us afterward, because maybe we can talk more. There's actually some people in the room that maybe we can connect you with that have a long history with.
Yeah, because we need all the advice and expertise that we can get. So.
Yes. I like it. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
And maybe of course we'll learn more after the fact, and then maybe maybe we can talk in more detail on a future episode.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. What else have we got going on here? I think we've got a few stories that people posted in the group. Here's another story by Willie Wu, an economic comparison of payment coins. Now, one of the things we've talked about in the past is how do you evaluate these other crypto coins that come into existence? There's not just Bitcoin. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of alternative crypto coins out there. And one of the things that Willie and I have discussed is pick something that Bitcoin's not very good at, like, for example, real-time settlement, or maybe anonymity, fungibility, and take a coin that's addressing that, and maybe that's the next Bitcoin. Maybe that's the next thing that come along that will unseat Bitcoin. But in this analysis of his, he's saying that the network effects of Bitcoin trump all of these other features that other coins have. So if you've got a coin that addresses fungibility, Bitcoin can adopt that on another layer. If you've got something that addresses payment verification time, that's also something that possibly Bitcoin can do in the future. And so his hypothesis in this story is that it's pretty hard to replace the network effects that Bitcoin already enjoys. And Bitcoin, much like the major political parties in the United States, can adopt things that gain popularity amongst smaller efforts. So if you see he's a numbers guy, he's a number cruncher, and you can see that this is Bitcoin bubbling along the top. These are a bunch of other coins that kind of address different features and functions. And anybody want to guess what this red line is here? Yes, Ethereum. Ethereum. Because Ethereum is addressing something that probably won't be adopted within Bitcoin, which is a Turing-complete computing language. So maybe we'll live in a world with Bitcoin and also an Ethereum blockchain. But it'll take something, I think, radically different, and also something that Bitcoin does not adopt to ever rival the Bitcoin network effects that it's enjoyed since it's got its head start from way back in 2009. All right, now Willie has a donation address down here, and I thought it would be fun to send him a little bit of Bitcoin. Check this out. This is his Bitcoin address. I can do a little request payment. I think I'm going to send him a couple euros. Feel free to join me, guys. Check this out. A little real-time Bitcoin action. How many of you people have a Bitcoin wallet on your phone? Yeah, about half the people. How many people have used Bitcoin for transactions or seen how it works? Right. You guys bought anything online? Oh, you're gonna beat me to it, aren't you? All right. So I'm gonna send. I'm gonna send a little. Hopefully, I can scan this. Oh, there we go. That was fast. Did it go? There's a little donation for Willy Woo and all his hard work. I think he spent months crunching data on this article and the last article that he did. And because we're looking at the blockchain, you can see there it is already showing up there. And well, if he ends up having enough money, we can have him buy us a few beers when he gets back into town. Actually, that €2 should go a long way in Sri Lanka. So enjoy that, Willie. All right. There's something very cool about sending money online and making donations online. You know, if you've ever used your credit card to do something similar, it's a big hassle entering your address, your billing address, your mom's maiden name, whatever else you have to enter in to get a credit card transaction to go through these days. Anyway, it's much simpler to do it that way. So enjoy that €2, Willie. Okay, here's another thing that, another story that Will posted online, which is cross-border payments settled via Bitcoin increase almost tenfold. And, you know, we've been talking about the remittance use case for a long time. You know, people who work in other countries and send their money home, you know, ostensibly because they work in, or they grew up and live in a low-income area and they travel to places where they can make money and send it home. It's very expensive for those folks to send their money home. Sometimes they're paying, you know, I think the average is 8%, but sometimes they pay as much as 20 or 30%. And it's really sad, you know, to think that they're losing all of that, all of their captured productivity, or all of the, you know, a big chunk of the money that they're able to save and send gets taken up by the legacy infrastructure that is at their disposal to send that home. And over the, you know, when Bitcoin first came along, we recognized remittances as a great use case, but it kind of seemed like it wasn't happening, right? It's not as simple as you think. Even though you can send a Bitcoin transaction for 6 or 7 cents, it isn't that simple because of the necessity for people to convert that money back into their home currency, and the liquidity or lack of liquidity in that regard in various places. So it has been a struggle, but I think we're finally getting there. And the comment that Willie made was, you know, the nature of exponential growth is that it doesn't look like anything's happening until you reach that hockey stick moment. And you can see that we are, even though it doesn't seem like Bitcoin is playing a role in remittances yet, we are seeing exponential growth in that area. And it's kind of exciting to think that this technology could keep more money in the hands of the people that earn it, right? And less money for the toll booth keepers. All right, there's some other stories here, but I think I wanted to push on to our main topic, especially since we've got Vinay on the line. Let's bring Vinay in and see if we can figure out how to allow you guys to hear what he's saying. Vinay, can you hear me?
Yes, can. Are you still getting an echo, or is that working okay?
Nope. The echo sounds non-existent, so that's good. And the people in the room are not able to hear you speaking right now. So let me give me just a moment. I'm just going to take.
Yeah, there'll be something in the control panel.
I'm thinking if I can change this sound output to.
Yeah, have a look in your have a look in the moderator thing control room.
Ah, okay.
There'll be
All right.
a guest slider somewhere there.
Let's see.
Pretty
control
sure.
Room. Let's see. Well, I can see your volume meter, but I don't have an output option for you.
Is that working now, guys? Are you able to hear?
Can you plug yours into the? Yeah. Hold on. Give us. Okay, that should be all right. We might have a bit of a delay here. We've got a possible workaround, Vinay, but let me just see if I can introduce this essay of yours. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, what time does your meeting start? Oh, okay, right. So I should probably take this conference call from my room. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's fine. Hey, guys, I'm gonna switch locations. I'll be back in a second.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So Vinay dropped off, and I'm just going to see if I can't introduce his essay here quickly. So what we've got here, Bitcoin is an identity management system, if you've ever thought about it that way, because Bitcoin is identifying the owners of all the Bitcoins that are in existence, right? We're keeping track, maybe not in terms of a person's name, but we are keeping track of a person's identity in terms of past history, right? Bitcoin is really just a big ledger in the sky, and it is keeping track of Bitcoins that are in existence and who or what number those Bitcoins belong to. So like it or not, we're already living in a world of digital identity. If you're using Bitcoin to transact in an economy, or even if you're just getting Bitcoin for yourself and holding on to it as a speculative investment, Bitcoin is keeping track of you and who gave you Bitcoins and what Bitcoins you give to other people. Even if they don't identify you as a person, they identify the Bitcoins that belong to a particular Bitcoin address. So Bitcoin is it's a bit of a de facto identity management system, and it's just the tip of the iceberg in an identity managed world that we are entering into. Humanity has evolved in a set of circumstances where we usually only have or had between 100 and 150 people in our general atmosphere. We evolved in circumstances where we knew almost everybody in our environment, and before there was money, we cooperated based on our reputation and our identity, how much we gave to our fellow human beings and how much our fellow human beings gave to us, and our identity was kind of kept track of in our brain, right? When you only know about 100 and 150 people, that's how many people I had in my high school class. You know, you kind of know who's the jerk, who's the nice person, who did you a favor, you know, and who did you do a favor for. But now we live in a world of Twitter, a world of Facebook, a world of digital identity, and also a world where you need to prove who you are to people you don't know. And also you need to keep private from people that you don't know certain aspects of your identity, because there are jurisdictions, there are places around planet Earth where something that seems quite normal to you and me might get you persecuted or judged against in other jurisdictions. And this is not simply, you know, geographic jurisdictions. You know, your boss at your job might not like the idea that you smoke pot, right? Or might not like the fact that you're gay or transgender. These are things that in the modern world we still get judged on, and you know, we're faced with the conundrum of existing in a digital world where these things can be imputed or inferred based on your browsing history, based on you know, who you interact with, and et cetera, et cetera. So came across this essay from Vinay, who you know, it's a really well thought out piece, and I think that I wish he was on the line. We could ask him a little bit about the process he used to come up with this essay, but I know that it was a collaborative effort. You know, he put it up on a Google Doc, and there were lots of people that chimed in and added their thoughts to the topic of identity. And he's got it broken down into sections. I thought we could go through a few sections, and I'd really like to, oops, sorry guys. I'd really like to try and lead a discussion. I'd like to get your opinions about what identity means and how we are to manage our identities in this new world. Yasmin, I mean, it could have ramifications for you and your project, because if you're bartering your skills and you're bartering with people that you don't know, there will come a time when you've got to identify yourself to somebody else, especially if you're trading skills.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you do that in a safe way? How does that how will that work? And maybe you've thought about it already, so I'm glad you're here. But let's see where we're at. Let's take a look at how he's kind of broken down the argument. Are you sure you exist? We are. And he talks about how, you know, there's a lot of software projects that are thinking about identity. You know, we had the folks from Consensus here, and they've got this Uport project that's trying to put your identity in your hands and allowing you to manage the data that is about you and your person, like your medical records, your browsing history, you know, what's your credit score, exactly who you are to what audience. They're trying to embody these things in software. So Vinay is a technician. He's thinking about the software manifestations of these very human problems, and he asked the question when he sits down and meets with these software developers. He asked the question, what is identity? So I'm wondering if anyone in the room would care to take a stab at the definition of identity, or what are we talking about when we're talking about identity?
Some kind of entity that you can hold responsible later. It doesn't matter if it's a corporation or an individual or a family or a clan or a government or whatever, but it's some entity that persists through time and you can have interactions with over time.
Yes, there's a temporal aspect to it, right? There's like, you know, you signed up for an account. When you come back later, are you the same guy that opened the account? And does everything that transpired since that time to this time, is that also associated with you? And that's how we can make a decision about something that's going to happen, right? For example, if you know, if I have a website that maybe calculates your credit score, and you have an account with my website, and I'm, you know, identifying transactions over, say, a 5-year period, and then someone wants to give you a loan, we can use your identity to decide what your interest rate is going to be, and if we do not want to give you that loan, right?
And that's important. You know that's actually who you're loaning money to.
Exactly. And back when we lived as a tribe, and there were only 150 people to keep track of, maybe we'd all know that that you're a good guy, Daniel. But these days, we might not know you, right? And how do we overcome that circumstance where we don't, you know, we're encountering you for the first time, and we've got to decide, do we want to give you a loan or do we not? Right? What else? Any other concepts of identity? Go ahead.
I have 2 ideas. One would be recognized existence.
Recognize existence. So do you exist? Like,
yeah, or that it is a recognized existence, which would be the unit of measurement for membership.
okay. So you are a person, not 10 different people, or you have one vote in a voting scheme, or
It's like a consensus amongst everyone that you exist in terms like around that.
okay. So proof of human being.
I don't know. I wasn't thinking so much of that. I was thinking more like this is around membership. I mean, your identity would be relative to your social sphere, right? Because, or even as you're born, you're given a name.
Mm-hmm.
You are recognized that you exist.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as you get a credit card, you're now a member of that group, and as you become a military operative, you're a member of that. As you graduate from a certain high school, you now have an alma mater. So it distinguishes you through recognition of membership.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. You know, in this essay, he goes through a mental exercise. Let's see if I can find it. There's a picture of some baby's feet down here, and he goes through. Come on, where is it? You can see how long that. Okay, there it is. And he goes through a mental exercise, like, say it's day 1 that you were born. Like, what identity do you have? You don't really have any identity at all. Like, that's that first moment that you're born, you don't have any information to keep track of about you and who you are. But it doesn't take long, does it? Right, where you start to decorate, so to speak, the entity that, you know, you're saying that you're recognizing the existence of a human being, and then it's almost like you start decorating that identity with information, like the parents probably give them a name, maybe the state shows up and issues a birth certificate, maybe there was a complication with the birth and they need to track what medication they're giving to the baby, and all of that like almost from the moment that we're born, there's entities within the world that are trying to, like, almost dangle little decorations, if you will, on your identity, on your personhood, right? And it really is out of your control from the first moment, right? You know, if the doctor decides to take your feet prints and then start associating, you know, what drugs you've been given or what vaccines you've had, or if your parents are from a certain country, you can quickly see that that the world will begin judging you based on your identity and the things that are associated with your personhood. And the question is, who does that information belong to, really? Does that information belong to that individual, or does this identity, or the information that's dangling off of this personhood, does that belong to society? What do you guys think? Who does it belong to now? Who keeps track of this information as it stands now? Government. Right, we rely on government to keep track of our social security number, how much taxes we've paid, and more and more, if you've had the proper vaccines. I know in Australia, And in the United States, children are now, I don't think they're allowed to go to school if they don't have the proper vaccinations. For some people, that is a very controversial thing. Some people don't want their kids to have vaccinations, right? And you know, as you can see, identity quickly becomes a way for the world to judge you, for better or worse. But is that a bad thing? I mean, do we want? Is some of these things, should they be common knowledge, or should they be owned by the person themselves? Is there a societal benefit to forcing people to expose aspects of their identity? What do you think?
Maybe not forced, but it can be beneficial for both parties. This could be an incentive to prove who you are, because you can be trusted on your past history or something like that. But then, why force people? This should be a mutually beneficial thing.
Yeah, I think it could be mutually beneficial. I mean, a lot of Bitcoin people really love the fact that they can be anonymous, or they're very protective of their anonymity in different contexts. But I think that, you know, I don't know, it's my opinion that I also would like to make use of my lack of anonymity, right? I would like to use my reputation to my benefit, right? You know, I'm a good actor. I'm a nice person. I pay my bills on time. I'm healthy. I would like, you know, some of those things take effort, and I would like credit for that effort. And if that's the case, then my identity has to be evaluated, right? But how do we do that now? We go to governments. How does Indonesia make a decision on whether I can come into the country or not?
Scanning your passport.
Right, passport, my passport, and what information are they able to divine about me by looking at my passport?
Well, whatever is being left on your file.
Yes, who knows what they can see? You know, I've noticed that. Yes, it's taking longer and longer, though. I know I've got a big fat file, I think, with Interpol.
And now your latest tweets, right?
Yes, especially with my latest tweets. Definitely on some kind of list somewhere. No, it's interesting, because in that case, the government, or even a consortium of governments, can attach information to my identity, and I don't even know what it is. This is the surveillance state. This is also addressed in the essay. Let me see if I can find it. Actually, I can do this. Anyway, it's in the essay. This idea that entities that you're not aware of can attach information about your identity onto you. And how do they do it? They do it with your passport. They also do it with your name, right? Have you heard these horror stories of people showing up at the airport and they're on some sort of no-fly list and they're not able to travel? Or worse, they're, you know, taken in for interrogation for 8 hours, you know, a case of mistaken identity. I think some people even ended up in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, because of mistaken identity or name mismatches. And that's what's happening when you go to travel and you produce your passport has a number, and that number identifies you in how many databases? Perhaps Indonesia has a database. I'm quite certain the United States has a database. And when that passport official scans your passport, we are not aware of the information that shows up on their screen. Is that okay?
No.
You don't think that's okay?
I think there's a very distinct need for a balance between I am who I am, who I think I am, versus I am what you think I am. And that goes from a personal level right the way up through to a government level. And if you don't know what data is being held about you, then how can you actually ensure that the right things are out there that are actually your truth?
Yes.
And it comes down to a very personal, spiritual identity right the way through to a physical identity, and the part that you play in your life, and how much of that do you need and want to be public, and how much of it should be actually private.
Right.
And I'm quite possessive about my identity.
Yes, yes.
I am who I am, and you ain't going to challenge that. You can think what you like,
Yes.
but that's about you. And
Mhm.
those statistics that governments are collecting, the medical organizations, and what they collect, it's about them and their stories, their agendas, and actually, do I want to play a part in that?
Yes,
Or
yes.
it's a matter of personal choice.
Well, I don't think that there's a way for us to stop people from collecting information about us. If I have an interaction with you, Georgina, and you I perceive that you wronged me in some way, it's perfectly within my rights to record or remember that I don't like you or I don't want to do business with you, etc. And ostensibly it's the same with organizations or political entities, etc. But the interesting thing about the world that we're entering now is we do have the ability to, in an immutable way, in a way that everybody can understand, we can record information about us and our interactions with other people over the course of our lifetime. We're not really doing that yet. Facebook's doing it on our behalf and selling it. Google's doing it on our behalf and selling it. And it's beginning to happen. Most people don't think about their identity in this way, but we do have the technology. Oh, I'm getting sorry, Vinay, I'm getting a little bit of a. Yeah, if you could put your headphones on. So we're entering an age, a technological age, where you have the ability to record information about yourself and then put it in your back pocket and produce some subset of that information to someone that needs it on an ad hoc basis. But the control could be yours. We're not there yet. And the powers that be are much further along the continuum to building a picture about us with their own databases, so that when you show up in a new country, they know probably way more than you think they do, and maybe are inferring things about you that you're not aware of, or perhaps they've recorded information about somebody else and attributed it to you, and you have no recourse. And I think the technology that Vinay is meeting with people in order to build is an attempt to give the individual a way to record information about their own identity so they can produce it in a selective way to a national border guard, or someone who wants to give you a loan, or someone who wants to let you into their nightclub, right? All those people need different information about you and your history. And although the technology is there to do it, we don't really have an easy mechanism for you to have that information on your phone and produce it at will. The social agreements aren't in place to do that just yet.
Can't be that far away though.
Well, I think we're at a nexus. We're at an inflection point where either we will teach ourselves how to collect all that information about ourselves and take that power, or the third parties, the power structures, will collect that data on our behalf, and we will just live in their world of gates and gatekeepers, and then they will decide what our interest rate is, whether we get a loan or not, whether we can ride on the subway. So that's why we're talking about it, right? I mean, most people don't even think critically about identity, right? They just think, I've got my friends, I've got me, I've got my credit score, and I've got other things to worry about.
So it affects them. I've got two friends who have gone into hospital for treatment, and within hours they've had communications from people, certainly within days, trying to sell them things like will writing services, funeral plans and retirement plans and retirement homes. And it's clear that the National Health Service in the UK have passed on that information to say that they were going to go in for surgery. And I think that is so wrong. And when things like that happen to you personally, you're ready to jump on the bandwagon and say, hang on a minute, I want to have control over my data. I want to have control over what information you collect on me and what you do with it.
So are we ever going to live in that world though, where we have that control? Because think about if we were back in a tribe of 150 people, and there was a clique, and a click had some kind of information about you, like you're not trustworthy or we don't like you or something.
You can change that script.
Yes, we'll make me the guy who didn't like. Okay, yes, much better, closer to the truth.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you, Vinay. But I'm afraid the I'm afraid the folks in the room aren't able to hear you.
Oh, that's weird.
Ah, yeah. Hold on one moment. Let's try something.
That sounds good.
Turn it down. Hold on one moment, Vinay. Yeah, we're getting feedback. Vinay, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Shoot.
I can hear you perfectly clearly. Can you hear me?
Well, Vinay, I'm terribly sorry. We the folks in the room aren't able to hear you, and we've got a little bit of a technical challenge. Can I suggest that we set up a separate call and talk about your essay, sometime in the next day or two?
Yes, that'd be absolutely fine.
Yes, we're having a great conversation. It'd be great if you could listen, and then when we reconvene, you and I will set it up so that everybody can hear and participate, and we definitely want to get your insights into these topics. So,
Cool. That sounds like a plan.
all right, thank you very much. Okay. All right, where are we time-wise? Okay, we've got about 10 minutes, folks, and so we've talked about the concept of you being a blank slate when you come out of the womb. We've talked about the surveillance state. The other topic that he raises is the idea of logging in or being, usernames and passwords, or biometrics, right? Biometrics like identifying you with your fingerprint. This is what Apple has done. Or Facebook can identify a photo of you by the shape of your face and how far apart your eyes are, etc. There's some really interesting, crazy edge case weirdness that can go on with the biometrics thing. So, how many people use like biometrics to log into their laptop or their phone? Daniel. Okay. So, like half the people. Well, fingerprints count. That's a biometric. Okay, so you too. Okay, so have you guys ever seen like these spy thrillers where they cut off the guy's thumb and then like that's how they get into the secret lair and get to the nuclear codes or whatever? So how many people are ready to give up your finger to the criminal so they can access your? Okay, Daniel's he's okay with it. You've got 9 others, right? You've got 9 other fingers. Yeah, this is actually an interesting quandary because it does identify you and your personhood from your biometrics, but there's a few kind of crazy things that can happen when that's the case. Obviously, there's that spy cuts off your finger and accesses your accounts that way. But think about Facebook identifying your face with biometrics. That makes it possible to search for your face, right? Like instead of when Google doing a text search, what if you could just put a picture of your mom into Google, and Google will tell you all the places that person showed up? Is that acceptable?
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So that scene from, what was that Tom Cruise movie where he goes into the mall and these advertisements are being beamed right to his ears saying, how does that pair of underwear you bought last time, Mr. Anderton? Is that like going to happen? Are we going to always be identified?
Uber is using face recognition, right, to verify their drivers in China, right? Because there's a high number of fraud of drivers switching places using the same account.
Okay.
So they're supposed to do live video and confirm the face matches the account.
Right. So that's a good thing. That's kind of a good thing, I guess. I mean,
That's that way,
that's
right?
safety.
That's a good thing.
But the example that Vinay mentions in his essay is what if you're a gay man and you've been to gay clubs or you're on gay websites, and your church is able to do a search on your face or search on your biometrics and determine that that's your lifestyle, right? Is that okay? Are we entering the world of Mark Zuckerberg where there is no privacy and we will not have that at our disposal? Are we? Is Daniel right? Is that ship sailed or is it already over?
Yeah, because like there's this problem now in Russia, right, where this guy invented a technology to crawl through amateur porn and then match their faces with their profile pictures on what's called VK, the Russian version of Facebook. Use it as a way to add them on the social network or harass them or whatever. So it's becoming
Blackmail.
Yeah, so it's becoming
for blackmail.
Not as blackmail or stalking, because like, hey, you're hot. I saw you in your sex video.
Oh, and they can actually find the actual person.
Yeah, they can find the actual person. So that's already an actual live in the wild thing. Right?
Yeah,
so
that's creepy.
It's a
and
huge question now within like the amateur pornography. Where like you can't do amateur porn anymore because they'll just take a photo, take a still, match it against your Facebook or VK or LinkedIn or whatever account.
And then you can't get best case scenarios you get discriminated against getting a job. Worst case scenario is somebody knocks on your door.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That ship has
But that also reduces, that kind of decision. Or I mean, in the future, then you or anybody else would have a different decision. Do I want to be in porn if this can be the result? Like what's happening now is a problem for that, but also for people making decisions to go into different kinds of situations or professional situations. Because I mean, porn or anything else, this is like it's a public thing. And it's a decision that you're making.
Right.
So then now you're casting your identity into that situation where that can be danger.
Yes. Well, I think that's the fundamental question. We as human beings find ourselves in a cultural and technological milieu that we are not aware of, or we're not used to it yet. All these young girls that decide to do porn because maybe they think it's fun or want to make some money, or aren't aware that this technology exists that could put a stalker on their doorstep, right? And that's why it's interesting to talk about it, because these technologies exist. The tools are being built as we speak or already exist, and most people go through life without understanding the ramifications, like the knock-on effects. We're living in a world that is vastly different than the world that human beings grew up in and evolved within. And can our society abide these things, or will it just tear us apart? Will it lead to less young girls doing porn, or will it make porn more palatable to everybody? Will we become more judgmental, or will we become less judgmental because we understand that maybe that guy that we thought was perfect, we know all of his or her foibles at this point, and we're more empathetic.
It also makes you shift the protocols. I mean, if you have a problem with the way your church is, is the person who's gay have the problem, or does the church have the problem if they're not accepting them or actually going through the idea of searching to find out who in their congregation is gay?
Right.
So why would that person want to be in that church if that's what they found out? And same thing with government. Instead of fearing or being worried about government or afraid of government, why are we not making government updated to serve us in the way that it would suit us, and to also serve us in privacy issues?
That's the only way. You have to make, ideally tear down governments, but at least make them better or compete on not being evil.
That's a very optimistic scenario. That's very optimistic. Let's say Indonesia, right? Indonesia, we're going through right now an anti-gay witch hunt, right?
Really?
Yeah, right? So
that's happening now.
Like gay emojis are illegal here, right? Gay people are not allowed to attend creativity seminars sponsored by the government here, right? There's a whole push to ban roll back or ban gays, because right now there's no criminalization. There's a push for criminalization. They've stopped the UN from any kind of activity or study about gay people in Indonesia, right? So
Really?
Whole hatred, right? So in that case, you don't have an optional membership. It's not like, oh, I'm Indonesian, I'm just not going to be Indonesian anymore. I'm going to pick up an Australian passport. That's not going to happen, right? So I think the idea of like, oh, we want to. Second idea is, okay, let's change it. Well, in Indonesia, you're going to be the minority. If you're for gay rights, you're sadly in the tiny, tiny minority. And it is a very, very quickly shrinking minority of Indonesians. Right? It's not
Right,
like
who are even able to identify as that. I mean,
right. So the whole idea, like, well, it's going to progress and we can fight back, is a very kind of a Western image that we're always progressing. Ethics and morals are getting better, and everyone's going to join us, and everyone's going to believe in human rights. Whereas true history is a lot more fluid.
yes. Well, and I would agree. You know, governments are not going to change quickly enough to accommodate this new world we live in. I don't know if you guys are following this email scandal that's going on in the States with Hillary's email. But this is a technological thing that has arisen that, you know, we haven't had this in years past or in election cycles past. And a lot of these emails, or at least some subset of these emails, are signed emails. So they've absolutely got them dead to rights. They can't. The politicians cannot deny that these emails do not belong to them, right? And yet, I would venture to guess that a lot of these politicians did not realize the implications of signing an email, right? And they are finding themselves in this social technological milieu that they are not used to, and it's biting them in the ass after the fact. And this is just one example. This could also happen to, you know, some poor gay person in Indonesia who, through some sort of carelessness or unawareness, is identified by the government as gay and is persecuted for that. I mean, that's really scary to me. And yeah, I think we have to address these things sooner rather than later, because people are going to get hurt, and it's out of a lack of awareness that will happen.
So isn't it a temporary problem that the speed of which this technology is evolving now is not allowing people that made actions 10 years ago to predict what this action would be, what the result would be now? But at some point, we have an awareness of these privacy issues, and everybody can make an informed decision already, and then maybe we will get past these issues.
Yeah, I think we will get past them. You know, unless human beings go extinct, we will deal with this new world that we've built. A lot of that new world has a manifestation in technology, and I think that's why, you know, people like Vinay write on this topic and meet with software developers to discuss how these things are implemented, because there is an effect on humanity, and the rapidity with which we solve these problems is probably directly related to how we implement these systems, right?
I think a lot of it also depends on the intention, because like I know that there was a pretty heated discussion some time ago about software that will actually track your health, and whenever you go shopping, if you went to go and pick up the wrong foods, you'd be penalized in some way, or you'd be prevented from buying those foods. Now that is going to be, that's going to be a big debate, because is that down to, like the government saying you should eat 5 groups of vegetables a day, or is it going to be, something that's a lot more, that we see in Ubud, which is a lot more, raw food. It's like who's going to be the one that's going to police it? Who's going to be the one that's going to be, deeming which is going to be the healthiest and which is not? And if we listen to one institution versus our instinct, what is actually the right path, of what implications those going to have on personal choice, our freedom, and actually,
That's a great point. Freedom. That's a great point. We're almost out of time, but in that vein, I'm just going to leave you with something here if I can find it. Are you guys aware of this this index that the Chinese government is tracking? Or is it China's Nightmare Citizen Score? A warning for Americans. This is an article by the ACLU. Are you aware of this citizen score that China is amassing? basically, you know, you've probably all heard of a credit score. We've got that in the United States, I assume in Europe and other places. You know, if you get a loan, you've got a credit score. But in China, you've got a citizen score, and it's not just based on your past financial transactions. It's based on who you associate with, what social media you subscribe to, and what social media you produce. And it is, the ramifications are quite profound, I think, because this is what determines if the Chinese government will give you a visa to leave the country. This is what determines what the interest rate on your next loan will be. It is a supreme control mechanism, and the population is not aware of this. They are understanding what it takes to get a higher score and sharing those scores with their neighbors. And everyone's score is public. So if someone has a low score, they are shunned by their neighbors, and there's a social pressure to change. And well, this is happening in China, and maybe you think this can't happen in some sort of Western democracy, but I think it's only a matter of time before information that decorates your identity is used to possibly used against you, or to control you, or control your behavior. We're going to have to leave it at there, guys. We're out of time, but I just want to remind you that we've got our Facebook group, Bitcoins in Bali. If you go to Facebook/groups/Bitcoins in Bali, you can find our discussions. We can actually continue the discussion there. We've got our YouTube channel, and this is going to go right up on YouTube after we're done here. And I'm going to try and connect with Vinay and have another conversation with him on YouTube. That'll be great. And you'll need to subscribe in order to get notified for that. So why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? And last but not least, guys, we're heading over to Tidbits after this. I think we've still got more to talk about. So let's continue the conversation over there. We can buy a beer with Bitcoin and some food, and keep the conversation going. Thanks for coming tonight, guys. We'll see you same time, same channel next Tuesday night, 5 p.m. local time, live here in Bali. Thanks for coming, guys.